Immigration clarification. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill failing to pass one immigration bill yesterday and delaying another. While over at the White House, President Trump insisting that his administration's zero tolerance policy for illegal border crossings must remain in effect. Watch.
If you took zero tolerance away, everybody would come right now. They'd be getting their little belongings, unfortunately, and they would be heading up. You would have a run on this country, the likes of which nobody's ever seen.
While the president spoke from Washington, the First Lady was near the U.S.-Mexico border for a surprise visit to a facility housing immigrant children. And the president is set to meet today with angel families who have lost loved ones at the hands of illegal immigrants. Joining us right now, the Wall Street Journal's global economics editor, John Hilsenrath. John, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be here, Maria.
Let me kick it off with that, your reaction to this confusion that we're seeing play out at the border.
Well, there's a lot of confusion in Washington and at the border. You know, at the border, the question is the president reversed his policy of separating families, and the question is, how are they going to go ahead with prosecutions? Do they have the facilities to house families together, and do they have the lawyers to prosecute these cases? Here in Washington, the question is, you know, what are they going to do on immigration legislation? There was supposed to be a vote yesterday on a compromise bill between centrists and conservatives, and they delayed that vote until next week. So we're in a very uncertain moment on where immigration policy goes.
Now, I'll just say, John, the Wall Street Journal front page story goes into depth on this issue, but literally there's confusion between the Pentagon and because they've received a request from the Department of Health and Human Services to provide 20,000 temporary beds for unaccompanied immigrant children at Department of Defense installations. But then when y'all emailed Health and Human Services, they couldn't even answer email questions on this issue. And then you have the problems actually at the border with border agents and the people on the front line there not knowing how to handle these families.
That's absolutely right. You know, this is a policy that's being made as we speak, and what we have is the administrative arms of the government, HHS, and the Pentagon, trying to figure out how to implement the president's order, and it's got to get sorted out. There's a serious resource question here, as to, you know, as you talk about these beds, as to, you know, where we're going to put all of these families that, you know, we're trying to keep together.
Yeah, then there's trade, John, the other big story we're covering all week. The European Union now confirming it will slap tariffs on $3.5 billion worth of U.S. imports starting today. The products targeted include Harley-Davidson bikes, bourbon, cranberries, peanut butter, among other goods. This comes after the Trump administration, of course, introduced those tariffs on steel and aluminum imported back in the U.S. Back in March. And now, John, comes the high-stakes fight with China still looming. In 2 weeks, the U.S. will start taxing $34 billion in Chinese goods. Where do you stand on this trade issue and what it looks like to you here at this point?
Well, you know, the United States' tough position here is designed to create better deals for Americans. And as we see with the tariffs that are going in place today from the Europeans on U.S. goods, those better deals aren't showing up yet. You know, the president hasn't gotten better deals. Basically, what we have is an escalating conflict. We'll see if that leads to better deals down the road. You know, the good news here is that a lot of economists will tell you that tariffs and trade wars are bad for the economy. It's not showing up in the U.S. economy right now. You know, we have an economy that's growing something like 4% in the second quarter, while Europe is slowing down. So in terms of growth, the U.S. has an upper hand with the rest of the world at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We're certainly watching growth to see if there's an impact here. John, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Great to be here. Thanks
Have a good weekend, John.